In this video, we will talk about the URL structure of the page and how to have an ideal URL structure for your website. As you can see, the URL of this page is https://zenacademy.com.au. As you browse into the internal pages, the URL changes to /courses. Further on, going into an internal page yields the following URL results. Now, before we talk about the URL structures, let's talk about some of the best practices for having an ideal URL that is easy for both users to understand and for Google to crawl, index, and rank. So ideally, you only want to have your root domain as the one that holds all the URLs. So you don't want to have subdomains or any other extensions that sort of create site.zenacademy.com.au or learn.zenacademy.com.au or any other subdomains, because each subdomain gets treated as a separate entity, and so they'll have their own page scores and own domain scores and things like that. In addition to this, you want to have a readability to your URL. So in this case, it's zenacademy.com.au/course/landing pages that convert, which tells me that this page is a course as a part of the Zen Academy. You also want to have keywords in your URL. So landing pages that convert is the keyword here. You could also have how to design great landing pages, or how to develop great landing pages, or have landing pages that convert well. Those sort of URL structures are all acceptable. Ideal format is separate them with dashes or dashes, so that it's easy for people to understand what this page is about. In most cases, what I'd end up doing is just matching the title to the page URL, because that's just the easiest and also exactly conveying what the page is also all about. Now, how does the URL get utilized in Google? You can see that when I search for an example, men's shoes, you can see that the URL shows up on the search results like here, and also men's shoes and shop men's. So what happens is that URL does play a bit of a role in how your sites get ranked based on the URL slug. In addition to this, if you run an e-commerce store, you do want to follow some best practice. So you can see here there's men's, shop all men's, new styles, and then there's loafer Ugg chestnut, which is a very long URL. Generally, the shorter the URL, the better the returns. I'm sure that this website could just have loafer Ugg chestnut shoes directly after the men's folder. So avoid having too many folders, and try and fit most of your stuff within within less number of folders. Now, in addition to this, you can see that this page actually brings about some dynamic content here. You can see there's a URL parameter, and so on and so forth. So again, you want to avoid those sort of things in a URL. You just want to have a very user-friendly, easy to understand, tells you exactly what this page is about, sort of a URL to ensure that your user and obviously Google understand what this page is about and accordingly ranks them in the website. And again, if you go to this one, they've already got shop as one of the subfolder there, men's as another subfolder there, under which obviously if I go to this individual shoe, then obviously there's some there's obviously some hash, obviously it's an HTML page, so that's good, but the men's folder disappeared on an individual product level. So you've got to decide on some of these as a decision you make when you build the website. Having said that, you want to stick to the shortest and the easiest to navigate sort of a format for your URLs. So that's a bit about the URL structure. Make sure you don't have subdomains, have it all on single site. Make sure they're readable, as is in this case. Make sure you have your keyword in your URL. Make sure you match your URLs to titles in most of the cases, and ensure that you have a shorter URL to get the maximum benefit.